So, Dr. Umar Johnson calls out Kamala Harris. Coming right up. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Common Sense Logical Reason. And as always, I want to say thank y'all for joining today. So, I've said before that I love when Dr. Umar Johnson does interviews, right? Because I say he's an idiot. And when he proves that he's an idiot every time he opens his mouth. And it's quite clear for anyone who listens. I mean, he literally is an idiot. Most of what he says makes no sense and is easily ripped apart, or they say unpacked, as they say. Now, unfortunately, though, for black people who are brainwashed by race, or anybody, because white folks also can be a bunch of, they can also be brainwashed by race, or these apologetic whites who feel that they must bend over backwards and do everything they have to apologize for slavery that they didn't participate in and see. But to these people, people like Dr. Umar Johnson sound intelligent. But that's because they've been so brainwashed by race. But like I said, the people who, with a discerning ear, he's an idiot. The only people that say he's smart is the black folks and of course these white folks as well. The ones who turn into mindless zombies every time they hear race, and of course these race suckers play upon this all the time. Now, he was on this YouTube show called The Art of Dialogue, and he was asked about Kamala Harris.
Speaking of Kamala, right, how do you feel about her? Because I know you made a comment earlier saying that she don't claim her black side.
House nigga, just like Barack Obama, they do what they need to do to stay close to the white power structure. She made a career locking up black people. This is the same woman who went on international television, Art, let me remind you, about a year or two ago and said America is not a racist country. You want me to go vote for a so-called black woman who went on international television and told the world that America is not a racist country? She spit in the face of the family of Trayvon Martin. She spit in the face of the family of Breonna Taylor. She spit in the face of the family of Michael Brown, Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, Amir Locke, Dante. We can go on and on. Tamir Rice, all the Africans murdered by police, which are state-sanctioned executions. Let us be clear. The police are agents of the state. When the police kills a black person, that is a state-sponsored execution. And in response to all this racism, the execution of George Floyd, this part-time black woman says America is not racist. And when
So he said a whole lot of nonsense here, which I'm going to unpack here. First of all, let's start with this house Negro. House Negro is just one of many nonsense that a lot of black folks say about slave days, even though he doesn't know anything about slavery. Dr. Umar Johnson was not alive during days of slavery. He has no clue of the dynamic of a life would as a slave. In other words, they believe that all these white folks had these giant plantations. And most of the slaves, you have 20, 30, 40 slaves on it. Most of the slaves lived in a barn, slept in a barn, and worked out in the field and grew crops. Whereas there was a few slaves that worked in a home. And these were the house Negroes, and the majority of the slaves are out in the field. In reality, if you know anything at all really about slavery, the majority of the slaves did not work out in the field. Most people who owned slaves owned like 5 or less because they were too expensive. And then on top of that, less than 10% of the population even owned slaves. So most of those slaves really truly worked around the house. So if you want to be honestly, most of the slaves are house Negroes. And it wasn't just slaves out picking cotton. Everybody picked cotton. Again, if anyone who knows anything about a little thing about slavery and like what was like in those days somewhat, because none of us really truly know, would know that this idea of the house Negro, field Negro literally makes no sense. But it's the same thing with these idiots who call you Uncle Tom, even though Uncle Tom was the hero actually a hero in the book. They don't know anything. Again, Now let's talk about this idea of that Kamala Harris has a career of locking up blacks. Now she talks about she locked up black men and they were smoking weed and she also smoked weed. I say this, nobody locks you up but you. There's no bill, there's no 3-strike laws, nothing that locks you up. You lock yourself up by living their life and committing crime. There's no black person, no black man she locked up who was not out there living their life. Now, are they blacks who innocently get caught up? Yeah, but majority of the time if a black person get caught up for something that they didn't do, is because they either hang with or live around people who are out there living their life. You know, if a black person robs somebody and you're just walking down the street minding your own business and you live in that neighborhood and you fit the description, they're gonna come get you. Not because of what you did, but because of what another black person did. Again, that's the dynamic. That's what happens if you live that life. So nobody gets put in jail by anything other than what they do themselves. Not because of what no politician did, no, because no bill was passed. That's nonsense. And then this whole idea that America is a racist country. America is not a racist country. Black folks believe this nonsense. Nobody has any evidence, can bring forth any evidence to show that America is a racist country. As a matter of fact, all the evidence says otherwise. You know, this idea of these blacks being killed by cops. Well, blacks are being killed by cops and non-cops. Blacks kill everybody. I always say that there are more white people usually every year, twice as many white people killed by cops than black people, but that's not, you won't hear that in the media because it's not, well, it's not politically, well, it's not going to get you views, let's say that. You don't get views by saying when a white person gets shot and killed by a cop. You get views and attention when you talk about a black person get killed by cops, and it gets repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated over and over again. And this is why so many blacks believe that cops are just hunting black down. But in reality, if you look at the stats, I always say there are 44 million black people in this country. Over 900,000 cops, in the average between 200 and 250 blacks are killed by cops every year. So if, you know what I'm saying, and 90% of those, the cops, blacks killed by cops are completely justifiable. Like only 10% are questionable. So if cops really truly were racist and were really out here hunting black people in mass, you can easily have thousands of blacks killed by cops every year. They're really truly out here hunting black people, being around blacks who committing mass crimes. So that it's just stupid. It's nonsense that black people believe. That's just simply not true. And lastly, this nonsense about state-sanctioned execution. Again, anybody who listens to this and say that this man is intelligent, I'm looking at you the side eye. You have to be really, truly brainwashed to believe that bullshit. Okay, you telling me so if a cop kills a black man, it's state-sanctioned, but not if they kill all of these white people, there's twice as many white folks that are killed? That's not state-sanctioned? That's like literally one of the dumbest things this dude has ever said, on top of all the rest of the nonsense that this man has said. The fact is Dr. Umar Johnson is an idiot. If you really break down the context of what he says, this man is a full-blown dumbass. A dumbass with 3 doctorate degrees, which qualify, what I'm hearing with these 3 degrees qualify him for nothing more than to be on the Fred temperature. Because, I mean, the evidence is clear. Like I said, when you listen to what this man says, and you actually listen with a discerning ear, and you actually break down the context of what he says, this man is an absolute idiot. And think about it, that was just 1 minute and like 20 seconds into an 18-minute video. That block I just gave you, the video, was only 1 minute and 20 seconds. And his interview was 18 minutes. I could literally have a 2-hour show just breaking down every stupid thing this man said just in that one video. And I have several videos breaking down the stupid things he says. I mean, like I said, this man is a complete idiot, and I would love for anyone to change my mind. Please prove me wrong. Somebody out there that Dr. Umar Johnson isn't idiotic. and a fool. Anyway, y'all, that's my 2 cents on this. Just more evidence of Dr. Umar Johnson being an idiot. Thankfully, a lot of black folks are waking up, especially when it comes out of this FDMG scam nonsense that he's putting out there. But unfortunately, there are black folks who still falling for it, and there are black folks who, at this point, who've been so brainwashed, they're just going to keep falling for it. Anyway, y'all, as always, until next time.